This is called Verdant Heart. Then my nervousness made room for my experience. As in a clearing filled with sweet rue, daisies, field mint, and honeysuckle along a stone wall, grasses, buttercups, and blackberries. Looking while realizing the whole meadow attained harmony, whose endpoint may be the passing of my garden in a freeze, a kind of synchronization, gravity. The ripe force bows down sunflowers and branches of the apple tree. Energy peaked for a lifetime thins, harder to keep on track, and it can warp experience. I return to that clearing as to an extended moment. What I see opens to possibility, presenting itself as revelation or synthesis of mythical plants with a circle of artemisia by the compost. In the shadow of a hummingbird, I see the energy of a moth. What you call matter, flowers, represents tones held together in a harmonic spectrum we can sense. A garden takes the shape of this harmony, fragrance through which my intention weaves, for flowers to keep the equilibrium of blooming together last summer, one extending the other in wavelength as color. I compare the first shoot of Veronica to seeing it now. The axis of a flower's lifespan becomes my memory. Each image is of affected color, and I can transfer this color imprint onto the healing of others, like a symbol that can be experienced without my presence or Veronica's. It's a matrix of possibility corresponding to experience. It defines my capacity to perceive a garden as of its same nature. Days are the colors of petals. Sequence aggregates into a rosette, turning with the sun and what sun partakes of. Now time simultaneously moves out from and back to a corolla between us. In other radiance, gyre of translucence and origin, a swan swims in the center of this glitter. I recall circles of color as symbols, their meanings ancillary, the way honeybees decode coordinates of this place from floods of daily meaning. There's motion and a sense using the entire body to highlight characteristics of feeling as direction. Connecting with this is a catalyst for moving my perception along routes other than reality. Sunflowers turn their faces toward light chords between persons and flowers in our lifespan, and between Apache plume, artemisia, violets, delphiniums in evolution. I ask a plant with dusty gray leaves for inspiration. From a small bud emerges innumerable porcelain white petals of a Madame Hardy rose. Communication flows back and forth between the rose and myself, and I begin perceiving through the plant. With respect to silver foliage of artemisia, magenta florets of ventana, yellow poinciana, meaning is the sense phenomenon. and develops into precise joys of imagination through which flowers are perceived. My feeling for flowers is like a three-dimensional mirror. Depth of knowledge within appearance there is expressed through the garden symbol and intuition hologram. Soft margins and wide peripheries unfocused. I don't give form to my appreciation, but sit quietly with the quality of blossoms that feels like light. Radiating lines connect to circular waves I perceive as communication by occurrence, like a golden frog diving into the pond. A touch from the world, carrying experience all at once, not like time. It's in two parts, and it's about color as the resonance with spirit. My soul radially whirls out to the edges of my body, according to the same laws by which stars shine, communicating with my body by emanation. When you see her, you feel the impact of what visual can mean. Invisibility comes through of deep pink or a color I see clairvoyantly. This felt sense at seeing the rose extends, because light in the DNA of my cells receives light frequencies of the flower as a hologram. The entire rose, petals in moving air, emotion of perfume, records as a sphere. So when I recall the emotion, I touch dimensionality. From a small bud emerges a tight-wound bundle of baby skin coral petals held in a half-globe, as if by cupped hands. Then petals are innumerable, loose, double, sumptuous, unified. I look through parted fingers to soften my gaze, so slow light shining off the object is filtered. Then, with feeling, I look at swift color there, its swiftness that seems still as noon light, because my seeing travels at the same speed. I make a reciprocal balance between light falling on the back of my eye to optic nerve to pineal gland, radiance stepping down to matter, and my future self opening out from this sight. A moment extends to time passing as sense impression of a rose, including new joys where imagined roses I haven't yet seen or seen in books, record as my experience. Then experience is revelation, because plants and people have in their cells particles of light that can become coherent, that radiate out physically and also with the creativity of metaphor, as in a beam of light holographically, that is by intuition, in which I inhale the perfume of the bourbon rose. Then try to separate what is scent, sense, and what you call memory. What is emotion? Where, in a dialogue like touching, is it so vibratory and so absorbent of my attention and longing, with impressions like fingerprints all over, I'm saying physical perception is the data of my embodiment, whereas for the rose, scarlet itself is matter. The rose communicates instantly with the woman by sight, collapsing its boundaries, and the woman widens her boundaries. Her rate of perception slows down because of its complexity. There's a feeling of touching and being touched. The shadings of color she can sense from touch. There's an affinity between awareness and blossom. The rose symbolizes the light of this self-affinity. I come to visit drooping white cabbage roses at dusk. That corner of the garden glows with the quality of light I might see when light shines through mist or an early morning reflects off water. I stand quietly and allow this quality to permeate air around me. Here, with a white rose, color is clairsentient. This color in the process of being expressed, like seeing Venus in the day. Walking, I move in and out of negative space around which each rose is engaged, and become uncertain of my physical extent as an object. Look at the energy between people and plants. Your heart moves into depth perception. For depth, read speed of light. I set my intention through this sense of moving into coherence with the biophotons of a plant and generate feeling in response. A space opens and awareness gathers it in. As at night, my dream is colorless and weaves into the nuance, I can intentionally engage with the coherence of light beams, instant as though lightless, or the colored light of a dimension not yet arrived, as our hearts are not outside affinity with respect to wavelength, shaping meaning, using the capacity for feeling to sense its potency in a rose, and to cultivate interbeing with summer perfume. Thank you.